You're going to have to accept the recording. Here we go. We are live, 5th of October. Oh my gosh, it is the 5th of October. John Lavenia himself is with us on the John Lavenia Success Mastermind daily call for our mastermind group. If anyone's watching this on YouTube, we get together as a true mastermind group to encourage each other, share ideas, share problems, and get inspiration. So there's a group of people out there that you can talk to regularly, meet every day, who will push you along in your endeavors, whatever they are. And today is the latest daily session. There will be another session later. I'll mention that again at the end. But Ivier is speaking at 5 p.m. Eastern time today, US time, which I think is 10 p.m. UK. Corporate Curios, brilliant sessions. I'll mention those again in a second. So Ivier, great speaker, is on later. Ingrid's joined us as well. Janet, great to see Ingrid. Ingrid's had a few issues she's just been talking about. So good luck, Ingrid, thinking of you. And I hope all goes well there. It sounds pretty awful. So we're all thinking of you. Anyway, so glad you all joined us. I wanted to follow up on the last few weeks of discussions that I've had. I talked recently about the key things I think that will enable us to move forward consistently, actually to get somewhere. Me being one of the worst candidates for this, because I keep sometimes setting out on a great route and then going around in circles. So I know what the problems are, and I know this is something we all have to master. In the first of that particular series of discussions, I talked about the fact that things are really upside down. Everything's upside down, and the way that we're taught to view things is really fundamentally wrong. John's been trying to hammer that into us for about a year now or more. So we can relate back some of what I've said to what John's been telling us. It all starts to make sense if you stand back and look at the true problems. So everything's upside down. You know, we've got to be clear, for example, about our purpose. I said in the first talk, because if we don't do that, all this stuff about systems that get shoved at us is not going to work. That will not solve any problems. I can put in place, and I do, numerous systems, numerous lists, action point managers. They are not going to work if the purpose isn't clear and burning and pursued. Your systems ain't going to fix the problem. Without purpose, no system is going to work. And I talked also about Seneca, who reminded us that we've got plenty of time if we use it and we order it properly. And that all has to fall in behind having the purpose to which to apply that time. I also hit myself and everyone else with the bombshell that I probably only have 1,040 weeks left. It could be more if I'm lucky. That I drew from an article I'd read, which was quite shocking in the sense it said that even a young person has 4,000 weeks. Well, that really makes you think, are you going to waste those 1,000 odd weeks, 1,500 weeks, whatever it is, or are you going to apply them to your purpose? What is your priority? What are you going to do about it? So that was that hit me in the first session. Gail has just joined. Happy birthday, Gail. So pleased to see you. Happy birthday from everybody.
Thank you.
Great big round of applause for Gail. You're looking good. You're looking good. So I then moved on in the second session to talk about the further piece of upside down thinking that we are all delivered from pretty much from birth onwards, which blocks us again. And that's the corrosive effect of going with our embedded feelings and our embedded conditioning, which we all have and which is handed down at various points in our treatment and our dealings with society, schools, etc. So rather than being able to see a possible future and a possible different outcome, we just feel our emotions and our conditioning from what we've seen before. That's another major obstacle that I was trying to highlight, something we've got to break and get over. Look to the future, look to the alternative outcome, not to what you feel, your gut feeling, and what you believe has happened before and will probably happen again. Probably happen again feelings will stop you changing the outcome. So I really then reflected this week on how those two factors, if they can be sorted out, lead to the third, and that's the can-do approach, the can-do attitude to getting around obstacles. And that's what I wanted to focus on today. You know, I really sat down and thought long and hard about this and thought, well, actually, you know, life is not an ordinary thing. That is for sure. It can be complicated, but it's never ordinary. And the gift of it is certainly not extraordinary. Our very existence is extraordinary. I used to say to people, be extraordinary, because my gosh, look what we've been given. So really, if that's the case, you know, we can turn this life over in our hands like a precious stone and look at it very closely in all its glory. It is a wonderful thing. We can do so much with that incredible life. It doesn't matter how many weeks we've got left. there is a lot you can do in a week. You can change whole lives in a week. You can change your life in a week. And we've probably, some of us, seen that. So if this is the case, we just can't accept second best. We can't let those opportunities slip by and just let them drift past. And I've often found those opportunities often only come once. They don't come again. Grab them. If your purpose is clear and you know what you want, you will grab the right opportunity as it floats past the first time. You won't let it disappear off down the river. That's the problem. You think, oh, I'll go for the next one. Doesn't necessarily come back. But if the purpose is clear, you will seize those opportunities, and they'll be the right ones, not the wrong ones. Purpose not clear, we seize the wrong opportunity, people are shoving them at us, and we go down the wrong track, and we start the cycle all over again. Get rid of that problem, then we start the next one. So we have to be clear. And so if this is all true, and this is an extraordinary life, why do we allow the ordinary then to dominate? Why do we do that? Why do we accept the ordinary? If we really examine our conscience, we probably often do accept the ordinary. Why don't we reach through that fog of fear, the boundaries of our imagination, the lack of commitment, the lack of purpose that can surround us, this fog that swells around us and takes clarity away from our goals and our objectives and our purpose? Why don't we reach through that fog? You can reach through fog and touch something. Why don't we do that? Why don't we connect with our own possibilities and our own alternative future that's out there if we want it? I've grappled with that question many, many, many times. But time and time again, I know that I become blocked and thwarted all over again. And why does that happen? Well, to my mind, having thought about this, it's because we are surrounded by walls in a very real sense. Some of those walls are internal, and I mentioned some of them just now: our imagination boundaries, our lack of commitment. These are internal things we cause. Those are internal walls, but there are many, many external walls as well. And those external walls, in effect, are a whole culture and society that's built around us that hold us back, that throw up boundaries, throw up norms, acceptances, conditioning again, that we live with. And sometimes we let govern us for the rest of our lives. So those walls, they may as well be a 5-foot high garden wall as a 90-foot fortress wall, if the effect's the same, if we just don't have the equipment to scale them. So in other words, if we don't carry with us the right mental equipment, the right mindset, ropes, education and training, grappling hooks, if I can put it that way, we're not going to get over that wall. It could as well be 5 feet high as 90, because we're just not equipped to even get over a 5-foot wall. You're going to be stuck on the wrong side of that wall, never progressing. And by the way, as part of this, I do believe it's our responsibility to help other people scale those walls too. We might be struggling with a fortress wall, but there's somebody else still struggling with a garden wall. We can help them to get over that through our learning how we got over that wall. Those walls are many, they're various, they're built by society, they're built by communities, by schools, sometimes by our own loved ones, and we're always going to encounter them. So we have to be able to tackle them. Those cultural walls that are deeply embedded. For us to succeed, we have to tackle them. We have to look at the wall, work out a way around it, or work a way to break it down. So everybody has to have the right approach to life to be able to get through those walls, or roadblocks, as we'll call them. If we don't, we'll stay on the wrong side of the wall and just accept stasis, the norm, no progress, and a predictable life. But there's a whole historic embedded culture behind those walls. Let's not forget that. Fear, prejudice, what have you. They can characterize whole communities. They can remain in place for decades and centuries before they're knocked over. And they're not suddenly going to crumble. So we have to tackle them. We can't just wait for them to crumble. We've got to do something about them. And I then saw a wonderful quote about roadblocks. We can't let things stop us. We can't let setbacks stop us either, as much as we can't let embedded walls stop us. Mary Kay Ash of Mary Kay Cosmetics fame said, for every failure, there is an alternative course of action. You just have to find it. When you come to a roadblock, she said, take a detour. So don't just accept stasis, the status quo, and the current conditions. Find a detour. If you can't break the wall down, find a detour and go round the obstacle, go round the roadblock. But we need to fight. We can't just accept. And we have to have the right mindset to do that. That is absolutely clear. And this is what John has been trying to tell us, of course, for well over a year, and keeps telling us regularly. But we have to link all this up to what it means and how we can translate it onto a day. What do we do in a day? And I'll come on to that in a minute. So we've got to be able to break roadblocks down or go around them, whether they're internal or external, walls we've built, walls society or cultures have built. We've got to take the same approach to them. I don't care where they came from. I've still got to get over them. I'm my own worst wall as much as society is. So I've got to knock down my own walls too. We've got to arrive at a state of mind in which we're prepared, in other words, to test 9,999 light bulbs before getting the right one. We've got to be in the state of mind where we can demand that Ford's V8 engine be built when everyone says we can't do it. We don't know how to do it. We've got to be in the right state of mind that says press on when everyone says there's no gold in the rock you're currently digging in. And as Mary Kay Ash put it, we've got to confront failure and find the alternative course of action when it's not clear. We've got to take that course of action, take that detour. There's always a way. And that's what I always tell people. I regularly say, there's always a way. Well, what can we actually do? This all translates down into real days and real life and things we have to contend with. The principle is clear, but what are we going to do? Well, we have to consider, firstly, in my mind, the auto-blocking effect of bad habits. They're automatic blocks which are embedded in our behavior and block us whether we do anything about it or not. They can, if we can break those bad habits, they can overcome a lot of blockages that we throw up for ourselves internally. Bad habits, unfortunately, set in over time, and they're often not really noticed. We don't notice them. We don't notice the detrimental effect of them until perhaps we get very unwell, very overweight, very unfit, whatever it is. There aren't always obvious signals for quite some time. So these bad habits create their own momentum and pace, and they lurk beneath the surface and sometimes go unchallenged, therefore, for years and years and years. And they effectively set in place roadblocks in every one of our days by predetermining how successful, how productive, and fulfilled each of those days is going to be. Those bad habits determine that, if they're anything to do with the way we behave during that day and the results we get. For example, if we have days peppered with telephone calls and social media in a random fashion, and we're not organized towards our purpose and prioritizing our purpose and the things surrounding it, that represents a huge potential automatic roadblock, which means we're never going to get any further. We just keep making tiny bits of progress and then going backwards because we don't consistently work. And these habits or routines are the elephant in the room. They're so obviously there in front of us, but they're also invisible obstacles that we have to work hard to spot and identify. We've got to look for them every single day. Can we root them out? Can we identify them? Yes. But we have to positively look at our conduct, our behavior, and say, what effect is this having on me? If I tackle the day this way, is this having a bad impact? If I don't do that particular pan as soon as I've used it, it might take half an hour to clean it, whereas it could have taken 5 minutes. It's the same with life. It's the same with life. If we don't do the small tasks and keep things in order as we go along, suddenly there's a mountain of mess, disorder, and delay. And then there's often quite a lack of balance in the day. There are too many responsibilities, perhaps, taking us away from the things we should be doing. We've just allowed too many things to crop up. So we've got to look at the routine in the day, each day, because we're talking about every day. If we look at each day, we can fix the overall problem. Are those routines and habits tailored to our actual current purpose or not? In other words, can we actually fit the items that align with our purpose in every day, or have we not given ourselves a chance to do that from the start? Because if we haven't, we're never going to get anywhere. It's pretty obvious, but we never think about it. Have I tailored my routine, my habits, and my day so I actually will definitely every day have time to work on my priority purpose items? We all have to test our routines and see if they're going to take us to our long-term destination, or whether they obviously, when we look at them closely, will not. So are they just a roadblock before we've even got going? We can find that out. And there's an obvious example. I've just been talking to Ingrid about this at the start of the talk. If I want to master a musical instrument, are my practice sessions clearly embedded in each day? Are they in themselves well-defined and clearly defined in what I'm going to practice and how I'm going to do it? And is my equipment ready for every session so I can grab the guitar, as Janet suggested, and get on with it? Because if it isn't, I'm probably going to hesitate and the opportunity has gone. So Are the routines we have designed to fail from the start, running us directly into a roadblock rather than taking us around them? We can find that out. And boy, the great news is we can change them. It's so easy. This is an easy one today. We can easily change habits. We can easily change daily routines in small ways to start with. And as Janet said, once you've made small changes, you feel like making more. Absolutely spot on, Janet. I agree with you. For example, have we allocated time in our routines or just misallocated time at impractical times of the day where there's no way we're going to combat the conflicting demands we have? So we put a priority item which matters to our purpose into a part of the day, which is never going to work, but we just don't think about it. And we often miss the opportunity because of that. That's a classic example. Or, for example, are we prioritizing in the first place our priority related tasks, or are they just poor seconds? I'll fit those in when I have time, manana, I'll get around to it. But we can't do that if we want to get anywhere on those priorities. We have to actually put them first. And we can change this. We can change those routines. The routines need to be realistic. We need to face that reality, decide who we are, what our purpose is, and whether we're prepared to pay the price in our daily routine for what it is we want to buy with our time. That is critical. That is critical. And on external roadblocks, and I've very nearly finished, soon finished, I wanted to talk about the external cultural and societal roadblocks. We have to keep those in perspective and test the perspective we have of them constantly, not to let them govern us and overwhelm us. We've got to challenge them. What is the actual roadblock? What is the actual problem that's being thrown up by the culture around me? What can I do about it? There is very much usually a solution. And the solutions to each roadblock differ. Each of those societal cultural blocks have a different solution. Focus on each one and then look later at the bigger picture. Just break down each of the barriers you think are holding you back. Not seeing the wood for the trees is a big problem here. And I know societal and cultural hierarchical roadblocks can be huge things, not so easy to get around. People can easily fall into the habit of saying, people like me just don't do that. They don't succeed at that. That's embedded in us. We can break that. We can break that. And this is where we need allies, people to encourage us, people to give us a leg up, piece of advice, maybe a contact, maybe an idea. And Ivier has spoken about having allies in her corporate curio sessions. Very important you surround yourself with allies and people prepared to help. Don't do it alone. It's hard to break hierarchies and cultures sometimes on your own. Other people can do it for you or tell you how to do it because they've managed to do it. And back to Mary Kay Ash, she talked about failure. And she said, for every failure, there's an alternative course of action. As I mentioned, you just have to find it. So don't accept failure either. I agree with that. There is an alternative course of action. Go round, fail once, 9,999 light bulbs later, it works. So he didn't give up, Mr. Edison. We don't need to give up either. We can keep testing in a small way without risking our whole livelihood on that to find a way round. Find that new daily habit that if you put it in place will change your whole routine and your outcome. Find that new approach that's going to overcome the obstacle. Gradually, maybe, if it's tiny steps you can take, or immediately if you can put a big habit in place in one go. But small habits, regularly followed and put in place, build to big, big things. And just keep doing it. It's repetition and consistency that deliver. You've got to make those routines and associated habits a matter of automatic routine. They're embedded in your brain so deeply, just like taking your morning vitamins, you take them without thinking. They have to be repeated time and time again for you to get to that level. But once you have, you just remember them. You won't need to set alarms, tie knots in your handkerchief, or do anything else. You will remember them. Force of habit is the most powerful roadblock breaker that we know. The most powerful detour around any roadblock is habit and force of habit. It keeps us marching relentlessly on. A single step every day does definitely add up to 1,000 miles. And the quote is right about that. Through routine and habit, we also know what we can do, i.e. we know we can do it because we've done it. Because if we're pursuing habits daily and getting results on those tiny things, we actually know we can do it. There's no doubt, there's no fear. You know that you can run that time around that track if you have to, because you've already done it many, many times. So there's no doubt. We can take doubt out. We can get around the obstacle. We know we can jump further, run faster, because we've already done a pretty good job with our daily habits. So we can just improve slightly and we're there. That's the power of having repeated daily embedded force of habit and why it breaks obstacles down. I spoke to somebody this morning, a customer at the cafe, about this, and she had put on a considerable amount of weight. One day she just said, that's it, I'm not that person. No, I'm not that person. And she changed her whole routine and her eating habits, not even the exercise habits, just the eating habits. She's lost a ton of weight, and she's got evidence of that now. And as she's got evidence of that, she feels more compelled to do more and happier about it. And that's just habit now. She's taken on the habit of eating better and eating properly and taking care of herself. Another customer was in this morning who I know. I spoke to him and he said, yes, I've decided to regularly now go out and make films. We're not going to send them off to anyone. We're just doing them for ourselves, because I want to be a filmmaker on my own account rather than filming other people's films. We're just going to do them. And of course, by doing that, they will get better, they'll get practice, and they'll eventually produce something which probably they could send off to a high-grade festival. It's habit. If you bake in the habit, you'll get better at it. You'll get more practice. But of course, don't keep doing the same thing. As Einstein told us, we don't keep repeating the same habits, we'll get the same results. Take a fresh look, consistently and constantly challenge what you're doing. Why am I doing this? Is this what's causing this problem when I get to the end of the day and feel regret, remorse, and pain because I didn't get where I wanted to today? What exactly in my habits caused that? Good ones or bad ones? Was it bad habits that blocked me? Good ones that were missing that stopped me or prevented me from making more progress? So, if I know I want to work on a new business project and I'm not getting anywhere, well, at least do something every day and start really small. Start smaller and just do a little bit every day on it until you can get momentum behind it and then go to the next level. Sometimes maybe we're waiting for everything to be ready, everything to be funded, retirement to come and give us more time. No, we don't need to do that. We can start small every day. Just start differently to what you're doing at the moment. So in conclusion, really, before I open up the floor on this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, your experiences on this, and whether you've taken detours, found a way to break down obstacles, found a way to improve and embed strong habits. I will, hang on, we just got a bit of background noise there. So really, we can be more aware of the internal and external walls that surround us and stop us reaching that new future. We can. I also mentioned that we can refuse to accept roadblocks and always see that there is a detour we can take. May not be the one we wanted first time, but we can take it and get where we want to be eventually. We can also confront failures, and we can look for those alternative courses of action. We can set daily empowering habits in motion, and those are the key to getting over those walls, internal and external. So I mentioned extraordinary life. Let's be extraordinary. Let's just be extraordinary and not accept the ordinary. That was my message for today. And I would love to open up the floor and hear from you all, including our birthday girl, Gail, who we all wish happy birthday to again. And it's lovely to see you looking so well. So I'd be delighted to hear from any of you on this topic to see how we think we can best get ahead and whether we've been able to. Anyone want to come and share their thoughts? Can't see any hands up at the moment. No one's got any thoughts on this
Adrian,
today.
I am driving, but I'd love to chime in if you just give me a moment.
Okay,
I'm going through a drive-through.
We'll take you, John, and then we're going to go to Gail, our birthday girl, after you.
Well, I'm in a drive-through right now. Getting some food for my family. Let me come on camera here real quick. So I'm at arguably the best donut shop in the Phoenix area called Bassa Donuts. So we're getting some bacon, egg, and cheese croissants, as well as some glazed twists and toasted coconut, which was one of my favorites. But the whole idea of tenacity is I think what you're bringing up here, and I've had to demonstrate that several times in my life. And no, it's not about convenience, right? And I think in this case, I may be stating the obvious, but sometimes I just have to look at what is the thing that I'm not inclined to do, and then just get that done first. And if I persistently do that, because you're talking about habits, which of course our next book in the book study group is Atomic Habits. I think you were one of the ones who recommended that. I haven't read it yet. But if I could get in the habit of being out of my comfort zone, that's probably a good habit to be in. In fact, I had a friend who said that my comfort zone, I'm so out of my comfort zone now that if I get comfortable, I get very uncomfortable. So 1289, thank you. So I don't know if that serves anybody else, but just the idea of not worshiping comfort so much. I think that's big. I like it. So anyway, back to you, Adrian. I'm getting my order.
Good luck with the donuts.
Thank
No,
you.
I agree, John. I mean, it is paying the price. There's a price to pay. We have to pay the price. It's going to be uncomfortable sometimes, tasks that we don't want to do. But I'm glad you're doing Atomic Habits. That's great news. That is a great book. And it's talking around these sort of things. If you can make these small changes we've talked about during many discussions, the 1% a day theory, that actually comes from your habits. Those things that make the 1% changes per day come from habits, good habits that you've embedded towards your goal. So if you want to run a marathon, you've got to improve your distance every day and run every day and eat properly to back it all up. You've got to put a whole chain of habits in place to get you to that result. So this is what we're talking about here. If you've got a clear purpose, run that marathon, then you pay the price, you take the discomfort, and you go for it. If you try to turn up and run that marathon straight off, you're not going to make it. You're unlikely to make it. Same thing applies in our endeavors now. We can't just go piling straight in. We got to prepare. We got to every day set a successful practice routine in place. Thank you, John. Gail, great to hear from you.
There we go. I don't have a lot to say except that I like everything you said. But for me, it's so hard for me to get out of my old habits and to try new habits and to push myself to do that. I just always fall back. I do it for a few days, sometimes a few weeks, and then I fall back, and sometimes I just give up. And like right now, I'm in the process of trying to build up my body. With all the stuff I've had this year, I can't stand up and walk straight. I can't stand for any length of time. I have no muscle strength, but I've been forcing myself for 2 weeks now to get up. When I get my granddaughter off on the school bus, I go and I turn on my set of exercises that I have on my phone, and they're all for seniors. And so I'm forcing myself to do these things, and I am hoping that I will keep it up because I need to build up my body. I need to be able to move again. I need to be able to stand up straight and walk up straight, and not have my daughter tell me, "Mom, you're bending over again." So all of that, even though right now it seems like, I'm never going to get there, I do have to keep on and doing it every day, even if I don't like it. And I think that also applies to our businesses. There's so many things that you don't like to do, but you have to do those little things in order to get to your goal. So everything you've said today is very good. Thank you.
Gail, that was great.
That's all I have to say.
No, it's great. You're bang on the mark. It's regularity, consistency. And, I've talked many times about routines. The routines go with the habits. The habits are the things we build into those routines. And if we do them enough and we repeat them enough, they become automatic. I'm glad you're doing Atomic Habits. This is all going to be covered in Atomic Habits. Yeah, and it's a whole mindset. I think it was that book that gave the example of two smokers who were trying to give up, being offered a cigarette. And one of them says, "No, thank you, I'm trying to give it up." The other one says, "No, thank you, I'm not a smoker." So it's a whole attitude. I'm already doing this. If you're already doing it, I am already a fit person because I'm working on my fitness every day. Not, I'd like to become a fit person and I'll get round to it. It's a different mindset. Very, very different. Yeah. So you're absolutely right, Gail. Consistently doing it and starting somewhere will get you there. You'll certainly be better than you are. Yeah. And it is true on our businesses too. The routine you build has to have embedded habits that become so automatic that the first thing you do when you get up and you sit down is you do these things. I'm going to do this, without even thinking. It's going to scroll off without me even thinking about it because I do it every day. And I know if I do it enough, I'll build my social media connections. I'll build my mailing list. I'll build my listings. I'll build my posts. I know these things will be built automatically because I'm doing it every day. But if we leave it, you forget where you were. You take time to restart. You're trying to find the things. What was I doing? What was my thought process? It all breaks down into a very diluted form of progress. and sometimes completely stalled.
Yep.
So I agree with you, Gail. Absolutely agree with you. Great to hear from you. Great to hear from you. And Janet has her hand up. Hi, Janet.
Hello, darling. I was just trying to take some more notes. Okay, so yeah, great talk. It went very fast. I'm trying to get everything down, Adrian. So I may have to listen to the replay. Thank you so much. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. I have some other things to add, and like I started to do right before you tried to go live. I have to go live. No, I want to say this. Anyway, those of you who are part of this John's Mastermind and not just watching it on YouTube, some of us pop on early and we get to say things to each other that you don't get to hear because it's not being recorded yet. So get smart, join it. Okay, so Adrian, I have other things, and that's what I started to tell you was, if you have something, your guitar, so it's all tuned, it's all set up, everything you need is there, and it sits right there where you can easily get it. You don't have to dig it out of something, you don't have to something, it's just sitting there, because what you want to do is to start playing it. So to think of, well, I'm going to build in a block of time, maybe not, but for me, I have found go where my joy is. If my joy is to pick up my guitar and just strum a few things, and that leads me to want to, well, let me get just that one little riff down, let me get that thing happening, and then it's like, oh, then I want to do what becomes before and after that. That just feels so good. So I'm not doing a have to thing, I'm doing a joyful thing, and I find that leads to a lot of things. When I went to England and took for my calligraphy classes, and somebody had shown me this thing where they wrote with water and they dropped color into it. And so at the time I was living on my own. I don't even think I had a cat. So I had stuff out on the table and I had everything I needed sitting there. And when I had 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something like that, I would go over to that table and I would play and I would do some of this stuff. And then I'd say, and I do watch paint dry because how is it drying? What is it doing? How is it moving? What's the result? And then that would lead me to want to try other things and to do something else. And I would just kind of, be drawn back to it because it was there. I didn't have to take it out. I made it easy. And that's what I try to tell my calligraphy students. Don't put it all away. Just have it where you can work on it. So some habits, when we, a lot of us have tried to change our food routines, let's put it that way. And if your plan is to not eat this thing, what's the first thing you want? To eat that thing. But if you are going toward, this tastes so good, isn't this nice? And I don't have to think about that thing that I'm denying myself. I'm going towards something new. That really leads to a better way to do it. You don't have to, what do we say? That where the attention goes, where the something, what is it, Adrian? Where our thoughts are, what is it, Adrian?
I'm trying to remember that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we are drawn towards these things. That's for sure.
Right. So what we want to do is put where we want to be in our head, as opposed to where we don't want to be, so that we are drawn to it. And in terms of exercise, Gail, so that's a food thing, right? In terms of exercise, yes, you have a whole routine, and it's great to have something to follow. But how about, I really like doing this thing. This thing feels good. I don't have to start at number 1. Maybe I like number 5. And this is fun. And I can kind of get into it and get into the rhythm. I'm just playing whatever it is. And this feels really good to me. So I'm going to do lots of this. And guess what? when you start doing lots of that, you start feeling better. And I think I'm going to do the thing before that and then get into it. I'm going to give myself a little, a little bit. I'm big on joy. That's my mission. But it's this is feeling good. This leads me to want to do a little bit more of something, because if I have a 30-minute tape that I have to follow and I have to start at number 1, that might be drudgery. But it might be fun just to do this part. Oh, and that other part. I like that other part too. So let me do this part and this part.
Yeah.
What do you think, Gail?
I think it has to be fun. You have to like it. And I know with the exercises that I'm doing, there's one lot of exercises that are for strengthening my shoulders.
Right.
And there are 2 exercises there that I'm just not going to do, because they're both done on the floor and I can hardly get down, let alone get up. So I'm not doing those, So I do, and each one of the groups of exercises, the different instructors do say, similar to what you've said, but they also say if you can't do it, they tell you how to modify it and stuff and to try it. And if you don't like it, skip it and go to the next one.
Absolutely. And you know what? Now exercise. Okay, so you don't know my background. My first background was in dance, and that's what I got my degree in at UCLA and went into graduate school, etc. So and I taught it at Santa Monica College for a while. I was teaching 2 years of dance classes.
Wow.
So I know a little bit about muscles and strengthening and flexing and all that kind of stuff. So they have you do it on the floor, and the floor supports you, and that's nice. But what about if you do it on the bed, where you can be comfortable, where you can have that support, because you are always working against gravity. That's how your muscles work. But the bed you can get on, because you do it every night, right?
Mm-hmm. But no, actually, now I'm still sleeping in a recliner because my body hurts too much when I lay in a bed.
Okay, you can do it in the recliner. Yeah. Yeah. We can talk. So you can do it in the recliner. What you're doing is you're doing it against gravity. Adrian, whether it's about our businesses and what are we trying to accomplish, what are the different ways we can go about accomplishing that same thing? What are the options to get to where we're going? We don't have to say, well, this is drudgery. Well, what will make it more enjoyable and not be so drudgy? How can you get to that in a different way that your mind goes, yeah, I like doing this. This is good.
Suggestion. Great suggestion, Janet. As I said, it's another way of saying if you hit a roadblock, find a detour. That's a great detour. Try and make it more fun. But it does highlight the whole point that I was talking about a few weeks back of having a purpose, which should be joyful enough for you that you want to pursue it in the first place. Because as I said, if that purpose does not bring you joy, and as you said, follow your joy, quite rightly, then all of these routines, all of these habits, everything, it's not going to work. It will not deliver you to the beach of your dreams. You'll still be out there somewhere lost on the ocean. So you have to have the right purpose in the first place. And how many times have we talked about that? Now, luckily, some of the brave folk in this group realized that they didn't like really some of the projects they were pursuing, and they've changed. They've made complete, total changes of direction. They didn't go into the one e-commerce suggested approach they were taught originally. They made a change, and that's what we've got to be prepared to do, Janet. You were right. Follow your joy. Without that, well, pretty much no point, really, you might say, but even if there is a point, it isn't going to work because you can't put your heart and soul
not for long. But I think I'm following my joy, and eventually, and I do this, and it'll lead to that, and that will lead back to the beginning, perhaps. Back to the joy.
It's very clever. As long as you've got your roadmap absolutely clear, so you don't get off down some rabbit hole, then yes, your idea is great. You're going to get back eventually through trying to make it more fun around the obstacles, and eventually come back to the obstacles and deal with them. Find another way. I like that. I like that a lot. But as you say,
I don't think I need to know the entire road plan. Do we really know what life has in store for us? Gail has had some roadblocks physically this year, but she's working through them.
No, I agree.
Sure.
Yeah,
But
I agree.
if I know that I want to get from here to there, and as I'm going, other things open up, and and now I want to also, and I'm not talking about rabbit holes, I'm talking about extending our purpose, what we're doing, because as we see that more things are possible, we really do open up to more ways to get there and more things possible. So I don't want to stop myself and saying, this is it, that's the end of it. No, I really don't. I want to be open to possibilities.
Janet, I mean, I agree with you. Of course, you have to have a very clear purpose so you know where the destination is. You've got to have at least a destination. You can always change it, but you've got a destination. And we've used this GPS life analogy before. As you drive along, the GPS car navigation system, if you go down a sidetrack, readjust to take you back towards the destination. So we've still got to remain clear on our destination so we can test what we're doing against it overall and say, is this getting me there or not? Because the problem is that we can fix this destination, go off down these sidetracks, but never readjust. And we keep heading in the wrong direction. There's no GPS telling us you've gone down the wrong turning here. You've got to turn right. You have to work out that you've got to turn right. And of course, people in the meantime are shoving alternative routes at us every day. Hey, will you help me with this? Would you want to try a bit of this? Sign up for this. So you're right, Janet. I think it's great to be adaptive, but you've got to have that destination so clearly fixed that nothing is going to pull you off it. So if you take a few circular routes, you're still going vaguely in the right direction. Yeah, and great things, unexpected things can happen. I agree. Then you just change the destination. If something dramatic breaks over you and you get a whole new purpose and a whole new meaning, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I like that a lot, Janet. That's great contributions, great thoughts, and inspirational thinking.
Thank you. And I loved what John said. I put it in the chat, about if there's something that I need to do, and it's just like, do that first. Get that out of the way, and then you can go on. So, okay, I get to do this thing when, I've taken my medicine first, and then I get to have my ice cream or my donuts, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100% with that. I mean, subject to the caveat, as I mentioned in the talk, that it's no good then doing those things first, but not allowing quality time at the right time so that you're going to have an effective session on your purpose.
Right.
Because if we plan that purpose back into the back end of times where we know they're going to be interrupted, we're never going to get anywhere. So there has to be a balance there. There has to be a balance. You've got to say, no, I'm going to protect the time that I'm leaving for this priority purpose task. Yes, I'll take the medicine first and get that out of the way, but don't just then shove the priority purpose task into a bad segment of the day where you haven't got a cat in hell's chance of being effective. Because that's what happens. We think we'll do it later, and at that time of the day, no way. You're going to get bombarded with calls, messages, people wanting to be collected, help, whatever it is, shopping. We've got to be very aware of that. So this is why the routine has to be carefully built and tested on a real day that we can really live and be effective in. These ethereal routines that haven't been tested are all very well and good, but it's your life, and everybody's life is very different every day. So test your own routine and constantly adjust it. Small adjustments, try them, go back, try another small adjustment. You're going to find the one that works, and then it will become an automatic habit, and then it becomes very strong because you won't even think about it, and it will carry you forward.
We're so lucky to have you. You are so wise.
I don't know about that.
I'm not sure about
that.
We're all learning the hard way.
Okay, everybody who thinks Adrian is wise, give him a thumbs up.
That's very kind of you. Very kind. No, look, we're all learning the hard way. We all have made so many mistakes to get knowledge of what we should be doing. And of course, we still don't do it. And why don't we do it? That's what I was saying in the talk. We can find that out. Why don't we do it? Why don't we do it? Because we don't have the right habits and routines in place. Those become automatic. They carry you along whatever's happening through thunderstorms, lightning. If that is a strong framework that you're sitting on, it will roll through whatever it takes. And that is absolutely clear. And that's why some of these great athletes get to where they get to, because they practice every single day, the same things relentlessly in the same way, so that on the day they're 100, 1,050% effective, and they'll produce 100% performance. To get to 100% performance, you've got to be way, way better than 100%. but
Yes.
routines and habits will get that for you. That's for sure. Well, I've enjoyed the session. I'm not sure if anyone else had anything to share. Janet is on fire today, and Gail too. And it was great to hear you both. I hope you've got a great celebration plan, Gail. We're all looking forward to hearing
My
about it.
children are taking me out to dinner to some nice restaurant. And my daughter and granddaughter came down the stairs this morning with 2 little cupcakes with candles and singing happy birthday, which was lovely.
Ah,
Yeah.
wonderful, Gail. That's great. That's so lovely. And hope you have a great family dinner.
Thank
So
you.
we'll probably close the session. Just to remind you, IVA Corporate Curios, 5 p.m. Eastern time tonight. I think that's 10 p.m. Mandy, UK. So IVA is great sessions. If you can join IVA, you'll have a great discussion. I did mention earlier some of the things she's mentioned to us, like keeping good allies around you, very important point. So she has a lot of important points to convey. Look forward to hopefully seeing you there and otherwise on the sessions tomorrow. So I'm going to end it there for the John Lavenia Success Mastermind 5th of October general session. Thank you all for great contributions and
Thank
for
you
being
very
here.
much.
Take care. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Great to see you all.
Thank
Bye for
you.
now. Bye, bye, bye,
Thank you.
bye.